Hello and welcome. I had tried to go live a moment ago with the scheduled post and Facebook wouldn't let me. It looked to me like I was going live, and right now it looks like I'm going live, but I want to make sure that there are people able to see this because I just did this a moment ago and nobody was able to see me. So I'm not going to go into the topic until I get some feedback from you guys. Could you just send up a shower of emojis and maybe type in a comment if you can hear me, because this is not working otherwise, and I keep trying to do it. Okay, Magdalena says in a message, I just got a message from Magdalena, and she says, oh, no, I can't see your messages. Okay, all right. Thank you, Magdalena. I really appreciate your reaching me because this new Facebook Live system is not working for me, but apparently it's working for you. So welcome. Let's start here. Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Tribe for Creative Souls. As you probably know, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. I'm the creator of the Art of Freedom for Conscious Living and Masterful Artistry. And today is Mondays with Jennifer, in which I pick a topic and kind of talk on it for you. And today's topic is the joy of improvisation and secrets to healing through creativity, improvisation, creative flow, all those good things. This topic is very dear to my heart. It is what I do and love, and it's interesting because it seems to me like improvisation is a new area for me because I just started improvising in public with my violin over there just a few weeks ago. So it's that part of improvising through my violin in public is brand new. And so it's very, very exciting to me. But the truth is, I've been improvising on my violin my whole life, probably since I got my first violin when I was 4. So I've improvised for myself, but there was also a big long period in my life, which was like a dry period, creatively speaking, where for lots of reasons that I won't go into in this video, I kind of turned off my creativity. I did that semi-consciously because I thought in a misguided way that that was a good thing. Don't even ask, because it's not a good thing to shut off your creative soul. In fact, it was soul-sucking and soul-killing, and I was dying a slow death without realizing it. But basically, I was more and more miserable and didn't know why until suddenly my creative muse woke up, and a lot of that is thanks to having found the Alexander technique in 2003. So my work, The Art of Freedom, is based on the principles of the Alexander technique, plus my experience as a musician, plus my life as a creative, spiritual person since I was born, like we all are. But combining all those things is what I call the art of freedom. And improvisation is a huge part of this. Improvisation is something we all do all the time. We're always improvising. If you want to get up and go get your paintbrush, you want to go downstairs and get a glass of water, you don't think about the path that you need to take from here to there, do you? Unless there is like an obstacle course of clutter in your house, right? Then you have to kind of plan your system, like how to get there. But usually you just kind of improvise and you go along with habit. So real improvisation is happening all the time, but we don't always experience it as freely as we could. When we are mostly in habit mode, our brain is relying on old systems and old ways of doing things, and they are familiar to us. And that can get a little boring and really not very creative sometimes. But there's also an aspect to everything that we do that is improvisation, because you can never do the same thing twice, ever. Even if it seems like you're doing the same thing twice, like raising your hand twice. No, I just did that differently each time. Okay? So what I want to talk about today is how we can increase the amount of freedom that we have and the more awareness we can have in improvising in daily life, in our artistry, in everything that we do. How can we, and why would we want to do this anyway? Would we even want to improvise? Well, remember, my work is called The Art of Freedom. And I feel that when we are really experiencing and realizing our freedom, we are free to choose new ways to do things spontaneously, like on the spot, in the instant that we are doing something. We get to shape what we're doing. And as creative people in this group, I am sure you know what I'm talking about. Where if you get out of the way and you let inspiration flow, and you just go along with it without a plan or an agenda, and just letting it lead you where it wants. I like to think of a creative muse leading you along this path of creation. When you kind of hold hands with your creative muse and just let it guide you, that's improvising. And it's exciting, it's fresh, it's new, it's spontaneous. It's really exciting for you, and it's also exciting for your audience, your viewers, your listeners, the people who enjoy your art. You take them along. It's like your creative muse, which is really an aspect of your higher self, let's call it. We talked about what a creative muse is in an earlier video last week. So if you go to one of the units in this group, you'll find me talking about the creative muse and what is it, what attracts it, and all that from that video, if you want that later. But when you get out of the way and you have the intention to improvise and get inspired, then it's like you let your creative muse lead you. And when you're kind of being led by your creative muse, and then you can lead your audience to come along with you. And it's like this joyful train of inspiration that happens. Now, the word joy, does this make sense? Can you send me some comments and things? And I think maybe I have to come over here to the Facebook group on my phone so that I can see the comments. I wonder if last week I was able to see them on my laptop, but apparently not this time. So I'm pulling up the comments. Oh, no? Still not seeing them, but that's a real bummer because I want to be able to, maybe I have to click watch live, so I have to watch myself live. You see, I'm improvising. Oh, here you all are. Oh, hello, Magdalena. Hello, Agnes, Alana, Patricia, Renee, Angela. Hey, I'm so happy you're here and I found you and you found me. And Lottie. Thank you. Okay, great. So I'm just going to keep checking in on my phone so that we can actually communicate here. All right, so let me get a little organized here because I had some specific things I want to share with you. So I just give you kind of a big picture here of what we're talking about. And I want to link it back to my method, the Art of Freedom method for, as I call it, for conscious living and masterful artistry, because really this is the key to masterful artistry, is to be able to, in the moment, choose the next place to go. Whether you're creating a painting on a vast scale, like a huge canvas, you need to be present in the moment to letting your inspiration guide you to where to place the next thing, whether it's a splatter or a swash of color, so you have to let something inside of you guide you, which is not always this prefrontal cortex. Okay. And when you're a musician, you have to be able to be present with the note that you're playing in the moment that you're playing it, without getting distracted by what happened and what's coming up. That's a big part of this. So the art of freedom has 5 pillars, and they are purpose, mind, body, spirit, and artistry. Okay? Everything falls into those 5 categories. But I want to start with telling you how these 5 pillars relate to improvisation. Number 1, purpose. You actually have to want to improvise, okay? you have to value that. You have to understand, what are you going to get out of it? Why would you even bother? What's improvisation going to do for you? And I'll just tell you that, I've been improvising my whole life on my violin, and we all have, like I said, we've all been improvising every moment of our lives. But to really do it consciously is a whole other ballgame. To know that we're doing it and to be able to use it to our creative benefit, to create what we want, we have to have a clear intention, and we have to want to improvise. We have to learn, we have to want to learn to do it. Although it's really, this is the interesting thing that I've been discovering. It's like we already know how to improvise. But then there are beliefs and there are fears that get in our way that convince us that we don't know how to improvise. And I would love to get your feedback here. Who watching wants to improvise? Whether you already do or you've never done it before, do you actually want to improvise in some way? I mean, even if you, let's say you mess up in the middle of a performance, you kind of would like to be able to improvise to get yourself back, right? Even if it's just like one split second of improvising a way back on track, right? That's improvising. Would you like to be able to do that? If you run out of materials when you're creating a work of art of some sort, doesn't matter which kind, sculpture, pottery, painting, writing, if you run out of your favorite material, would you like to be able to improvise a new way to continue so that you don't have to stop the flow that you're into? Wouldn't that be interesting if you knew how to do that? So how many of you want to be able to improvise with ease? So hopefully I'm getting a lot of thumbs up. I still can't see much going on here. Oh, I guess I need to refresh the page over here, but I'm not really seeing responses here. I have a feeling I'm seeing the old video. Okay, forget it. It's frustrating. So I've got to go back to, oh, I see. It was the wrong video. Here you are again, everybody. I will get this figured out sooner or later. I'm seeing your emojis finally. Oh, yes. And Barb says, I want to improvise consistently, better and better. And Patricia says, yes, I do. Oh, finally, I can communicate with you guys. You have no idea how good that feels. Renee says, I would love to be able to, but I do not think I'm able to. Yeah, and that's what I'm about to talk about. The thing, oh, you can, now I'm hearing myself on the phone. Can I turn off the sound on my phone? Yes, I can. Okay. All right, so the 5 pillars again. You've got to start with purpose. You have to actually want it. So we're all kind of in touch with this vague or specific idea about improvising. We all want it. That's why we're here, okay? Numbers 2 and 3, the second and third pillars of the art of freedom are mind and body. So I believe we all know how to improvise because we do it all the time. We're just not aware of it. And then we don't harness that innate ability to improvise. This is my theory and my experience. And we don't do it because the mind, body, self gets in the way. We have these beliefs that we can't do it. Okay? Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up or tell me in the comments if you have some sort of a belief that you can't improvise. And I'm raising my hand because I had this belief until just a few weeks ago that I would even say it to people, oh, I can't improvise. I don't know how to improvise, is what I would say. I can't do that. Even though I would do it at home without any problem. But it was different. Oh, I can't do that in public. I can't let anybody actually hear my improvisations. Oh no, because then my mind would just go into, I can't, I don't know how. And I'm going to talk a little more about those things in a moment. But basically, it's the mind that conjures up all kinds of reasons to stop you from doing what's actually natural, which is improvising. The mind doesn't want you to do it. I'm not going to go into why. I have all kinds of theories about why, but can you all see what I mean is that your mind gets in your way and you can't separate your body from your mind. That's why I say your mind body gets in the way. I mean, even if I just say, oh, I can't, then you see how my body is like part of that. It's like, oh no. And I stiffen up and I tighten up and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I'm not able to, not me, right? Does that sound familiar? Does it feel familiar in your body? I mean, if I told you right now to just come on live and improvise, what happens to your body? It's like you go like, oh no way. Is that you right now? Can you relate? Tell me. Okay, so the fourth pillar of the art of freedom is spirit. You can't do anything without getting inspired somehow to some degree. You just can't. And I don't care what you want to call number 4. You can call it spirit, source, God, inspiration, life, nature, the great mystery. There are all kinds of words for this special something that gives us life and joy, and it's the life in us. I like the word spirit. So use whatever word you want if you don't like spirit, but I'm just going to go with spirit because it goes in the word inspiration. That's why, one of the reasons I love that. So pillar number 4 is spirit. And in the context of improvisation, if you want to improvise, you need to have the desire, have a system for getting the mind body out of the way and using it constructively instead of destructively. And then you need to invite inspiration. You got to say, okay, well, I guess I'm open to giving it a try. There's an aspect of being open and willing to find out what happens and just go for it and be willing to fall flat on your face and make a fool of yourself and laugh, which is bound to happen the first times that we do this, right? So that's the 4th pillar, spirit, inviting inspiration, being open to finding out what happens. And then you find out what happens. Number 5, pillar number 5 of the art of freedom. It is artistry. You just use your creative area of interest or expertise and you create something. You play around and you just do something. They just take action. You just do it. That's your artistry. And you can't make great art without an element of improvisation. Yes, you can quote me on that. You just can't. I didn't realize it until a few weeks ago that I was doing that all the time on a smaller, more subtle level than when I started pushing live and actually playing my violin and improvising in public. Like I said, it's natural. We're improvising all the time, but we don't even realize that we're doing it. And it seems like this big thing, like this mountain that we need to climb if we're not used to doing it consciously, but we're doing it all the time. So I'm going to talk now a little bit, and let me come over to the comments and see if you, yes, Patricia says, I agree with the fear of not making mistakes while improvising. Yes, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. And what else is here? What else are people saying? Angela says, I would like to be able to improvise more. I can a bit. I find it very hard to do on the piano, though. Okay. Oh, I find it really easy to improvise on the piano. because I don't play the piano. So I have no expectations for what's going to come out. So all I have to do is like this, and I'm improvising, and it's fun. So this is actually a very important point. We think there's a way to improvise that is correct, and that it has to be a certain way. But that's like the opposite of what improvising really is. Improvising is like you don't know what the box is that you want to put something in. So we have all these beliefs that actually get in our way. And this is a perfect one where Angela, she's a cellist. And so she finds it, well, shit, I can do that on the cello because I kind of know how to do it on the cello, but I can't do it on the piano. It's like, because maybe you have some idea of what it's supposed to sound like or how it's supposed to go. And me, not a pianist, it's like, and I don't really care what comes out because there are no expectations for what's going to come out. So I could just plunk away and okay. Let's see what else. Hey, Renee is here. And Renee said, the other Renee says, I love it when people are able to improvise and make it beautiful, natural, and does a flow. Yes, and it is possible to learn how to do that. And I'm teaching myself, and it's been since the day after this crazy, awful pandemic was announced. That's when something in me, my spirit, creative muse, whatever you want to call it, compelled me. It was a compulsion. I had to do it. I had to listen to that inspiration. I went live the day after the declaration of the pandemic because I had to. I had to improvise, and I had to do it in public. And it was really, really scary, but I just had to get over it. I knew that. So I did. And it took me 20 minutes to hit live, but I did it. And then it was easier and easier every time after that. It's still scary for me to do it, but it's not so scary at all anymore. And I find it so fun. And it keeps evolving. It keeps evolving and turning into something new, which is what improvising is all about. You want it to evolve. Patricia says, yes, easier on my singing because that's not my main instrument. Right. So probably you don't have expectations that are as high for singing as your cello. And she says, although I love to sing and I do it more often recently. That's great. Okay. So let's go back to this idea of what gets in the way, this topic of what gets in the way. We all want to improvise, right? Give me a thumbs up. I want to improvise. Yes. Who is excited about learning how to improvise and being able to do it maybe someday? Yes. Let me see how excited you are. Great. All right. So in order to learn how to improvise, you don't really have to know how to do it. Okay. I'm going to tell you from personal experience. Again, I've kind of played around with improvising since I was 4 and picked up my first violin because children, babies, toddlers, kids improvise, right? They get some art, materials, and they just go and they do it. They don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they're supposed to do, except that they have learned that a crayon goes with paper, right? But then they improvise and they play and they have fun and they play around with different color combinations, and some of them look horrible, but they don't judge them. We judge them. Who is it? Who am I to say that color combination is horrible, right? That's an adult construct. It's a belief. It's something that, maybe I have my natural taste, if that's my temperament, and that's just me, but it's not absolute at all. You could see that color combination in a famous painting by a famous artist somewhere, right? So we have all these beliefs and assumptions about what's good, what's bad, what's valuable, what's not, what's right, what's wrong. And it's that kind of thinking that really makes a block. It puts up a wall between us and improvisation. Because we feel like there's a right way to do it. We should know how to do it. Maybe if you've been playing your instrument for a long time, you feel like you should be able to improvise. That was me, okay? So I didn't dare to really improvise, for a lot of reasons. Basically, I felt like I should be able to do it better than I could at the time. I should know how to do scales and arpeggios and all kinds of things with much more facility so that I could just pull them off the top of my head whenever I wanted, in any moment. And I couldn't do that. I mean, I can play scales and arpeggios, but they're not at instant recall in the moment that I need them or want them. Okay, so, but I felt like, well, I can't improvise unless I can do that now. I mean, that's silly, right? It's just silly. Tell me it's silly because I know it's silly. Okay, but this is where my thinking would go. No, I'm not good. I can't improvise because I can't do that. Right? And why else didn't I do it? Oh, big one, fears. Well, what are people going to think if, I'm a good violinist and then I start to improvise and I sound like a beginner? What are people going to think? It's like, oh, she's not a good violinist. Now you can really tell. She was faking it really well, playing those big pieces, but, she was just reading music. You're not a real musician if you can't improvise. Okay, so all kinds of voices in my head were keeping me from just trying it and going for it. What are people going to think? Right? What if I screw up and people actually hear that? What a terrible thought, right? Can you relate to that? Can you imagine getting up on a stage and just playing your heart out with no music, no clue of what you're going to do, and you just play? Scary, right? But it's not rational. It's not rational. Really isn't. And we have such high expectations of ourselves. How could it possibly be rational for me to be expecting myself to be able to play like Stefan Grappelli the first time I try playing jazz? And why should my improvisation skills be as good as a jazz musician who's been improvising consciously his whole life? But somehow I'm thinking, oh, I should be able to do that. I mean, it's a little arrogant, maybe, right? A lot arrogant. Like, well, no. Okay, so fear of failure, fear of what people are going to think, thinking you just can't do it, you're going to sound bad, you're predicting the results, basically. You're not in the present moment. You're worried about how it might come out, how it might sound. You are afraid of disappointing yourself and other people. That's a big one for me. I've just discovered. I just did a video on it. It's in one of the units in this group if you want. Healing disappointment in oneself. I didn't even know I had disappointment in myself. I guess I was kind of clueless about that until somebody pointed it out to me. And it was life-changing to realize that I get disappointed in myself frequently. I didn't even know that. And I'm so happy. Somebody pointed it out and it clicked in my brain because of how she said it in that moment. Something she said caused it to click. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you are so right. I had no idea. Wow, this changes my whole life with that kind of breakthrough moment. So do you get disappointed in yourself if you try something and it doesn't work out perfectly or the way that you wanted? Ask yourself, is that something that's happening? Is it that you tend to be critical of yourself? Our critical, judging self is an improvising saboteur. Get rid of it. I know, easier said than done, but you can do it in tiny little baby steps. We are very hard on ourselves. We are our own worst critics. And we are afraid of the pain that we might inflict upon ourselves if we don't come up with the result that we're hoping for. Am I right? Tell me in the comments. Let's see. Who else is? Oh, Colin is here. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. I was just thinking of you before I hit live. I was like, oh, it would be nice if you would see this because I know you're interested in this topic. That's great. And I would love to hear, does this make sense? Does this make sense to everybody here? Yeah, critical voice is the culprit, Patricia says. And Renee says, yes. Okay. I think sometimes also we're afraid that it's going to be work. It's going to be hard to learn how to do this. And then it won't be as much fun as it could be. Because give me a thumbs up if you just want to have fun. If you're going to improvise, it should be fun, right? I want it to be fun, but I have to say that's not my only purpose for doing it. I have discovered, now I'm going to get to the second part of this broadcast, which I advertise. How could this possibly be healing for us to get creative and improvise? Well, I think from everything that I've just said, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you realize that any of these thoughts have been kind of preventing you from breaking through and just daring to improvise. Once you are able to recognize that those beliefs or those assumptions or those expectations, those desires are somehow holding you back, if you can work on healing those beliefs through just taking action and just going for it and doing it and screwing up and falling on your face and having fun in the process, that is very, very tremendously healing. But as I just said, it's not always fun. A lot of the time, I go to my instrument to improvise for other reasons than having fun. I actually go on purpose to experience some healing in myself, or sometimes I do it as a healing process that I'm giving someone else who is listening. And I'm doing this much more intentionally, much more purposefully now, but it's something I've done since I was a child, and I just didn't know that's what I was doing. I would get upset with a family member usually. And I remember so many times where I would run up to my room, I'd lock myself. I had a key to my room, which was a wonderful thing. I'd lock myself in my room. It would often be dark outside. I would not turn on the lights. I'd get out my instrument and I would just play my heart out. And I'd feel better afterwards. Sometimes I'd get tears on my violin. And now, because that still happens, because I think we artists tend to be sensitive, at least anybody else out there, admit it, are you a highly sensitive person? It's actually a thing now. Are you an HSP? I think I am, because I feel things very, very, very deeply. I have, which I think is a real blessing. It's a gift that has been given me, which is why I'm an artist. I think lots of artists are highly sensitive people, and that's why they're drawn to beautiful ways to express and feel and live that sensitivity in ways that are valuable and beautiful very often. But here I have this scarf that I put over my violin under here in case my tears get on the varnish. I have to protect my violin. Okay, so I'm exposing this. See, I'm improvising. I wasn't going to tell you that. But I think it's important. We all need to know that when you improvise and you make really pure art, what I mean by pure art is where you get your ego, mind, body, self out of the way. You have the intention to do that. You can't just do that. But you have the intention to heal, getting that mind, body stuff, personality, pain, complaints, critical, negative thinking, wallowing in your misery. I don't do that. I don't believe in that. But I believe in feeling what I feel and processing it consciously, quickly, healing, moving through it, and creating something of value while I'm at it. So if I'm upset, I will say, okay, you can't even think straight when you're upset or you're in a panic and you're that upset. But if you're an artist, you're going to remember, go to your art. So I go to the violin. I go to the violin these days. I didn't used to do this. There was like I told you, there were decades where I didn't do this. And it was not a good thing that I didn't do this. But I learned a lot about why that wasn't a good thing and why doing it now is a very good thing. It's because it's healing and it's human and natural, and we all need creative outlets. All of us, I dare say, all 100% of humanity needs to have ways to express, first to feel, to allow oneself to feel as deeply as one can, and to be able to express those feelings. And what I mean by express is to get out, to express, like you express, you get a lemon, you squeeze it and you express the juice, right? You need to be able to get the lemonade out, right? And add some sweetener maybe. But that's the creative process. And that is done, I think, most easily when you're open to bringing in the spirit of what you're doing. And improvisation is, I'm finding, one of the best ways to do it. You can do this through Bach. You can do it through heavy metal. I don't know how. I'm not interested in that personally, but people do it. They express their emotions that way. I don't care what your way of doing it is, but the process is always the same. There's something that needs to flow through you. You need to express it and get it out so that the next feelings can come through. So that, because we're constantly feeling, you need to be able to express those things, because that is healing. If you don't, you're going to have the feelings anyway. But if you don't let yourself feel them, you don't let yourself express them, they get squashed, suppressed, repressed, and that turns into suffering. Physical or emotional suffering. Pain. It's going to be emotionally painful. It's going to be physically painful, quite possibly, if you do not learn how to express those feelings. So that is why improvising is incredibly healing. So just to recap, improvising is natural. You don't have to know how to improvise. Okay? You are free to get things wrong. You're free to experiment. Improvising is experimenting. When you're really improvising, you're free to do it your way, and you're free to use the resources that come to you. Just because you can't do certain techniques or you can't remember certain techniques that you've learned on the spot doesn't mean that what you're improvising is less valuable. And in fact, the more you can accept the limitations of the means at your disposal in the moment, the more valuable what you actually have to express is going to be for you and for your listener. But also, you'll have better access to the tools that you have practiced beforehand if you accept this possibility that if you let your creative muse give you what your creative muse wants to give you, and you accept those tools that come to you, you accept the notes that come to you. This is what I'm learning to do. I'm learning, and I can do this now suddenly, consciously, because of all the Alexander technique training that I've had and practice that I've done, work on myself every single day for much of the day. I know how to get my thinking out of the way and use my mind for constructive thinking, so that the excess tension, the negative thinking, the beliefs, the assumptions, the desires, the expectations, I can put those away and clear myself so that my creative muse can do it for me. Okay? And again, creative muse is a word that I use lightly, but it's also serious. If you want to know exactly what I'm talking about, go to one of the units in this group to find out what I mean by creative muse. Basically, it's that aspect of me that is not right up here top of mind. My creative muse has access to everything I've ever thought or learned. But it's only going to deliver to me in the moment what it wants to deliver to me. And I need to accept that and go with it and be okay with it. and trust that when I want more, in good time, my creative muse is going to deliver to me exactly what I need in that moment to create what I want to create, or what she wants to create it. It's just, it's me, she, whatever. Does this make sense? Agnes says, "Oh, Agnes says, I just really want to hug you right now. Here, I'll hug you back, Agnes. Even if you don't see my comments, I have to say it's so true. Oh, I don't think anybody's ever wanted to hug me on a Facebook Live before. I really, yeah? I'm going to have to go improvise on my students hugging me. That's so sweet. Thank you. Angela says, being vulnerable is definitely hard for HSPs. I know it is for me. Yeah, but the great thing is that when you dare to do it, I think we get so much more. Our experience is tremendous. It's like you can be blissful in ways that people who are not highly sensitive maybe don't have access to. So I feel like it's a real gift, especially for artists. And Agnes says that too. HSP, definitely. Okay, great. Alana says, yes, it makes total sense, Jennifer, every single word. Yes, thank you for that affirmation. Alana says it's beautiful. Wonderful. That's great. So I'm just looking at a couple notes that I had here. If you know me, you probably realize that I improvise these live videos. That's how I improvise. But I do like to have a few notes sometimes. And I'm just going to read. I don't want to go into this whole other topic. I think I'm going to make another live video at some point on how to use my magic phrases to deal with what we've been talking about. But just briefly, you're free. You really are free. And when you improvise, you have to know that you're free. You're free to improvise, and you're free to screw up, and you're free to be brilliant. So you are free. And that's hard for people who believe they need to improvise a certain way in a certain context, and that it has to fit into a mold. It has to fit into a structure. Sure. I mean, of course, if you're improvising in a band or you're improvising in a group that has a certain style, you kind of, it's probably a good idea to improvise in that style. But, some of the greatest improvisers, they just kind of went off and did their own thing and then came back, right? Am I right? Yeah, so you are free when you improvise. That can be so liberating to give yourself that freedom, and it can also be absolutely terrifying to the point where you don't want to do it because you can't handle that kind of freedom, right? So just saying, you're free. You've got to embrace it if you want to improvise and let yourself be free. This is something that you can learn. This is something I teach. This is why my work is called the Art of Freedom Method, because there is a way to realize your freedom, and that's what I'm interested in. You're free to be yourself. That's what it comes down to. You don't have to do anything in a specific way if you don't want to, okay? You get to choose what you're going to do, and you get to choose how you're going to do it if you're really improvising. You have time. You have time. You don't have to be able to improvise like the king of the world right now. Or the queen of the world. I am not the queen of improvisation. I just started doing this a few weeks ago. I'm the first to admit that I really don't know what I'm doing. But I also know that that in itself is the key. I don't have to know what I'm doing. And if I'm okay with that, if I'm okay with not knowing what I'm doing, then my creative muse can come through. And I think that some of what I create is actually pretty wonderful. And to be able to say that with a detachment, because in some sense I feel like, well, it's not really me, it's my creative muse. Right? Okay, moving on. A couple more things on this list. I am safe. You are safe. Even if you improvise and screw up, you're not going to die. I promise. Although maybe I shouldn't do that. You never know when you're going to die, right? That's something we don't know. But we can't know it, and we don't have to know it. You don't have to know anything about improvising. I thought I couldn't improvise because I had to understand harmony. Like, sorry, I don't have to understand harmony. I never was interested in theory. I admit it. I was married to a theorist for 25 years and I still wasn't interested in theory. Maybe that's why we're not married anymore. He is a theorist and a wonderful composer, but we're very different. I wasn't interested in that analysis. And I'm like, you know what? I know what I need to know. I'm just going to do what I do. And that's kind of how I feel now about improvising. There are courses out there that can teach you how to improvise. And I'm sure they're great. And I used to think, oh, someday I'll do that. I don't want to put it off anymore. I didn't want to put it off anymore. I wasn't going to wait until I learned all the systems and all the rules and all the ways to improvise. I just was going to improvise. I was going to improvise my improvising. So you don't have to know how to do it. Just do it. You don't have to get it right, and there isn't a right way. Be open to learning and improvise. How do you learn? Just take it, like, improvise. Really improvise and have fun. Or don't have fun and just express yourself. That's the best, most healing way, is you're not even trying to have fun. You're just doing it because you have to do it because you know it's healing. That's why I'm doing it. So I think that's everything I've got for you today. And I'm going to hop over here to see if there are any more comments coming up here that I should see. I think it's stuck again. I'm going to go back and I'm going to refresh. Bear with me. I do not like this system. I am in the process of learning a new system, by the way, so this should get better. This using Facebook Live, it doesn't do what I want it to do. And I used to use a different system that then stopped being useful because the picture quality was too bad. So I've been researching different ways to do live videos, and I have purchased a new system. And I just tried to do it for today, and over the weekend I tried to learn the system, and it was a little too complicated and I couldn't get it up and running in time. So I apologize for the confusion here and that it's not working as well as I would like it to, but I have faith that it's going to be better for next week. If you want to send me some good vibes so that I can learn the new system, it's called eCam if you're curious. And yeah, it's a little complicated. So I have to learn this new technological system, and I just have to stop resisting and do it. Renee says, I think you shouldn't critique everything you try, but if there's something nice, that's good, right? Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, thank goodness we can get feedback about ourselves. We're going to hear the notes that are out of tune, but we're also going to hear the notes that are in tune. And we're going, that's right. And I think we are so good. It's like it's acceptable to put ourselves down. This is another topic. If somebody wants a live topic on this one, please tell me and I will do one. It's like it's acceptable for us to be hard on ourselves and put ourselves down. And it's not acceptable to be kind to ourselves and say good things about ourselves. Why is that? That's just not fair. Why is it not okay for me to say I'm a pretty darn good violinist? And instantly my body goes like, oh, Jennifer, you're not supposed to say that. But I think actually when you don't let yourself think that or even say it just without any attachment, it's like false humility, really. And it's not healthy. I'm not saying yet we have to go around and praise ourselves in front of everybody, but yeah, why not be objective with the positive things too? It's like, I'm actually good at this. I'm good at that. I'm good at that. But yeah. Huge topic for another live video. Yes. And yes, you're going to hear the things that are nice and enjoy them. That's how you can enjoy yourself. We have to be able to enjoy ourselves. I mean, what else is there? Adisha, you're here. Thank you, Adisha, for inspiring me with this topic today. Adisha suggested that I talk about the joy of improvisation. So let's all thank Adisha. Because I really enjoyed this topic. Thank you. And by the way, if anybody else has any topics that you want me to talk about, please. I love when you send me ideas for topics because I hate thinking them up for myself. I just don't like doing that. So send me a message, send me a private message, send me a message, put it in a post in the Facebook group. Just tell me what you want me to talk about. Okay. Adisha says, we have to understand the difference between the premature practicality of the mind and the inspired wisdom of the heart. Ooh, that is so rich. Thank you for that. The premature practicality of the mind. Ooh, I love that. Yes, the mind says, oh yes, but we must be practical. And here's what you need to do right now to be practical. And you don't know how to do that yet. So you should wait. And yeah, is that what you're talking about? Yes, I'm all for logic. I love logic. I have been accused of being too logical before and too literal, but that's just how I am. I enjoy logic. I think there's a very good place for logic and for being practical, but the wisdom of the heart does not follow those rules. It does, and it doesn't. Yeah. You can't go wrong with the inspired wisdom of the heart. I love that idea. Thank you so much, Adisha. I love that comment. Patricia, thank you. Good vibes coming my way. Thank you. Angela says, thank you for having such an encouraging, allowing group. I'm really hard on myself. And this encouragement is so very helpful. I'm so happy to hear that, Angela, really. Adisha, on free writing, quote, you have to let the madman out. Oh, yes. Or the fool, right? The fool in the kingdom. Yep. Sorry, I digressed. Quote, you have to let the madman out. The madman has got to be allowed to go wild. Then you can let the architect, you can let I can't see okay, sorry. Then you can let the architect in and design the structure. After that, you can have the engineer. Sorry, it's the Facebook comments not letting me see the whole thing at the same time. Okay, here we are. And then you let the engineer come in and put it together. And then you let the janitor in to clean it up. The problem is most people let the janitor in before they let the madman out. Oh, I love that. This is from Professor Betty Sue Flowers in her article, Madman, Architect, Carpenter, Judge, Roles and the Writing Process. Oh, I love that. Oh, that is great. So true. So true. Yeah. And there's also the reverse where sometimes it does make sense to have a structure first. For instance, as a classical violinist, immediately it comes to mind how we learn scales, we learn where to place the fingers, where to do, how to play Bach. You have a structure first, and then you find your freedom from within the structure. I mean, this is like living in society, and talking about the madman is a great example. It's possible to have that wild inner freedom and still be perfectly normal on the outside, fitting into the rules, the mores, the values, the laws of a society. But you can have total inner freedom. And it's outer freedom also when you look at it from a different perspective. It's like every movement that you make can be free and spontaneous and still fit into that external structure. But so I feel like it's an interplay between that inner creative spirit that we all have. We could call it the wild side, that madman inside of us that just wants to let loose and go crazy and just be free and dive in the ocean. That part can live in harmony with the more structured part that does have reason and logic. So, but lots of food for thought, right? Thank you, Adisha. Great. Okay, I feel like oh my God, it's 1 o'clock. I just talked and talked today. This was maybe a little long. So thank you. I'm going to wrap up, and thank you so much for being here with me. Those of you who've you're still here, or if you're watching the replay, I really appreciate your presence and your interest in this topic. And your homework, if you choose to take it, is to ponder these ideas and then stop pondering them and just go improvise. Okay? Lots of love. And tell us about your experience in the group. I really would love for you all to post in the Mind, Body, Spirit Tribe for Creative Souls and share about your process of improvisation and how it goes. Talk about your fears and your struggles and your beliefs and the things that get in the way from the mind, body, self. Talk about that, and then we can work together on healing. Sign up for my creativity challenge if you haven't done it yet. It's going to be May 18th to 22nd, and I'll put a link into this post as soon as I'm done so that you can sign up. You have to sign up to get the full thing. And I think that's about it. Oh, last thing, if you want to know more about how you can work with me and I can help you personally with anything related to this or life as an artist, I do offer private coaching, and I have an amazing group for musicians. I'm thinking about creating something for non-musicians. If anybody's interested in that, tell me. Okay, so message me if you want to know more about anything, and have a fabulous day and go improvise your day. Have fun. Lots of love. Bye.